Lonely cowboy takes in a widow and her 3 children, unaware they will become his family forever. The cowboy woke up before the sun, just like he did every day. The sky outside his small wooden house was still dark blue, and the air was cold enough to make his breath show. He sat on the edge of his bed for a moment, listening to the quiet. There was no sound of voices, no laughter, no footsteps, only the wind moving through the grass and the soft creak of the old house. He had lived like this for many years, and the silence had become his closest companion. He pulled on his boots, grabbed his worn jacket, and stepped outside. The land stretched wide in every direction, flat and open, with fences running like thin lines across the fields. His cattle were already stirring, and he walked toward them with slow, steady steps. The work was hard, but it gave him something to focus on. Feeding the animals, checking the fences, and fixing what the weather had broken filled his days. When the sun finally rose, it painted the sky in soft colors of gold and pink, but he had no one to share the view with. By late morning, he decided to ride out to check the far fence near the road. He saddled his horse and headed toward the edge of his land. The road was not busy. Most days, no one passed by. That was how he liked it. People had come and gone from his life long ago, and he had learned not to expect much from the world. As he rode closer to the road, he noticed something unusual. An old wagon stood on the side, one wheel tilted at a strange angle. A woman and 3 children stood nearby. The children were small, and their clothes looked dusty and worn. The woman held a bundle in her arms and tried to calm the youngest child, who looked tired and close to tears. The cowboy slowed his horse and stopped a short distance away. He was not used to strangers. For a moment he just watched, unsure of what to do. The woman looked up and met his eyes. There was worry on her face, but also a quiet strength. She took a step forward. "Sir," she said, her voice soft but steady. "Our wagon broke. We've been trying to fix it, but we don't have the right tools." The cowboy nodded. He did not speak much, but he could see they were in trouble. The sun was high, and the children looked thirsty and tired. He thought about how far they might be from the next town. Without saying much, he pointed back toward his ranch. "I've got water and tools," he said. "You can rest there." The woman hesitated for a moment, looking at her children. Then she nodded. "Thank you," she said. "That means more than you know." The children climbed back into the wagon, and the woman walked beside it as the cowboy rode slowly ahead, guiding them toward his land. The ranch came into view, and the children looked around with wide eyes. To them, it probably looked like a whole new world, full of open space and animals they had never seen up close. When they arrived, the cowboy helped them down and led them to the small porch. He went inside and brought out water and some simple food. The children drank eagerly, and the woman thanked him again. She told him her husband had passed away some time ago, and she had been traveling with her children, looking for a place to settle. He listened quietly. He did not ask many questions. He understood what it meant to lose someone and keep going anyway. After they rested, he took his tools and went to look at the wagon wheel. It took time, and the sun began to move across the sky. The children sat nearby, watching him work. The oldest one asked questions about the horse and the cattle, and the cowboy answered in short, simple words. By the time he finished, the wheel was steady again. The woman smiled, relief clear on her face. She said they would leave soon, but the cowboy shook his head. "It's getting late," he said. "You can stay the night. There's space in the house." The woman looked surprised. "We don't want to trouble you." "It's no trouble," he replied. They carried their few things inside. The house was small and plain, with simple furniture and clean floors. The children looked around, curious. The woman helped them settle in one of the rooms while the cowboy went back outside to finish his evening work. As the sun went down, the sky turned deep orange. When he came back inside, the woman had made a simple meal with the food he had given her. The smell filled the house, and for the first time in a long while, the cowboy felt something warm in his chest. They sat at the table together. The children talked softly, sharing stories from their travels. The woman laughed at one of their jokes, and the sound filled the room. After dinner, they sat by the small fire. The children grew sleepy, and the woman tucked them into bed. The cowboy stood in the doorway, watching quietly. He noticed how gentle she was, how careful she moved, as if trying to protect them from the world itself. Later, when the house was quiet again, the woman thanked him once more. "You didn't have to help us," she said, "but you did. I won't forget that." He nodded. "You're welcome." That night he lay in his bed, staring at the ceiling. The house felt different. It was not as silent as before. He could hear the soft breathing of the children and the quiet movement of the woman in the other room. It was strange, but not in a bad way. It felt like something new had entered his life. In the morning, the children woke up early and ran outside to see the animals. Their laughter echoed across the land. The cowboy watched from the porch, a small smile forming on his face without him even noticing. The woman came out with a cup of water for him. "They're not used to this kind of place," she said. "But they love it." He looked at the children chasing each other in the grass. "It's good for them," he said. They spent the day together. The cowboy showed the children how to feed the cattle and how to brush the horse. The woman helped clean the house and fix a small tear in one of his jackets. They talked about simple things, where they had come from, what life was like on the road, and what it was like to live alone on a wide piece of land. As the sun began to set again, the woman said they would leave in the morning. The cowboy felt a strange heaviness in his chest at the thought. He did not say anything, but he nodded. That evening they shared another meal. The children thanked him for letting them stay. The woman looked at him with kind eyes. "You gave us more than a place to rest," she said. "You gave us hope."
He did not know how to respond to that.
He just nodded again. When night fell, the stars filled the sky. The cowboy stood outside looking up, while the house behind him glowed softly with light and quiet voices. For the first time in many years, he did not feel truly alone under the wide sky. He did not know what would happen next. He did not know if they would leave or stay. But he knew one thing for sure. This small moment, this simple act of helping strangers, had already started to change him in ways he could not yet understand. The next morning came with soft light spreading across the land. The sun rose slowly, touching the grass and fences with a warm glow. The cowboy woke up to a sound he was not used to hearing. It was not the wind or the animals. It was laughter. The children were already outside, their voices bright and full of energy. He lay still for a moment, listening. The sound made the quiet house feel alive. He got up, pulled on his boots, and stepped onto the porch. The children were chasing each other near the fence, pretending they were riding horses and exploring faraway places. The woman stood nearby, watching them with a small smile on her face. When she saw him, she nodded in greeting.
"Good morning," she said. "Morning," he replied.
He walked toward the barn to start his usual work, but this time the children followed him. They asked if they could help, and he showed them simple tasks. He let them carry small buckets of feed and showed them how to pour it gently so the animals would not rush. The children took the work seriously, trying their best to do everything right. When one of them spilled a little, they looked worried, but the cowboy only smiled and told them it was fine. The woman helped around the house. She swept the floor, washed the dishes, and fixed a loose board on the porch. The cowboy noticed these small things when he came back for water. The house already felt different, cleaner and warmer, like someone cared for it again. Later in the day, he took them to a wide field where the grass moved like waves in the wind. He showed the children how to sit quietly and watch the birds in the sky. They tried to spot different shapes in the clouds and laughed when they could not agree on what they saw. The woman sat on a nearby rock, holding the youngest child in her arms. She began to tell him a little more about their journey. She spoke of towns they had passed through, of nights spent in small shelters, and of the hard choices she had to make for her children. Her voice was calm, but he could hear the tiredness behind it. He listened, not interrupting, just letting her talk. When the sun moved higher, he brought out some bread and fruit. They sat together in the shade of a tree and shared the simple meal. The children told him stories about their dreams and the places they wanted to see. He did not say much, but he enjoyed listening. In the afternoon, a neighbor rode by on the road and stopped to talk. The cowboy introduced the woman and the children. The neighbor looked curious but kind. He asked if they were staying long. The woman glanced at the cowboy before answering. She said they were still deciding. The cowboy felt a strange feeling in his chest when he heard that. As the day went on, the children grew tired and sat on the porch steps watching the sun move across the sky. The woman sat beside them, brushing dust from their clothes. The cowboy worked on a broken fence, but his thoughts kept drifting back to the house. He was not used to thinking about anyone else while he worked. Now he found himself wondering if the children were bored or if the woman needed anything. That evening he brought out an old board and some chalk he had kept from years ago. He showed the children how to draw shapes and letters. Their faces lit up as they tried to copy what he made. The woman watched, surprised.
I didn't know you could teach, she said softly.
He shrugged. I had to learn once too. The sky slowly turned orange and purple. The wind picked up and the air grew cool. The woman helped prepare another simple meal. They all sat together again, sharing food and quiet talk. The children thanked him for the day, and he nodded, feeling something warm inside. After dinner, the woman spoke to him privately near the porch. She said she was grateful for his kindness, but she did not want to stay longer than they were welcome. He looked at the ground for a moment before answering. You can stay as long as you need, he said. She looked surprised.
Are you sure? He nodded. It's a big place.
There's room. That night the children fell asleep quickly. The house grew quiet again, but it was not the same kind of quiet as before. It felt gentle, not empty. The cowboy sat at the table thinking. He thought about how the ranch had felt before they arrived. Just work, silence, and long days that all felt the same. Now, each day felt different. It felt like something he wanted to hold on to. The next few days passed in a simple, steady way. The children learned more about the land. They helped plant a small patch of vegetables near the house. The woman helped fix old curtains and clean out a small storage room. She even found an old picture frame and placed a simple drawing from the children inside it, setting it on a shelf. The cowboy watched these changes quietly. The house began to feel less like a shelter and more like a home. The laughter, the small footsteps, and the soft voices filled the empty spaces. One afternoon, a strong wind blew in from the west. Dark clouds gathered in the sky. The cowboy moved quickly to secure the animals and close the barn doors. The children helped as best they could, holding onto small ropes and running messages back and forth. The woman stood near the porch, watching, ready to help if needed. The storm passed without causing much trouble, but it left the land wet and the air fresh. When it was over, they all stood outside, looking at the clean sky. The children jumped in small puddles, laughing. The woman laughed too, for the first time in a way that sounded free and light. That night they sat by the fire again. The cowboy told a short story about his own past, about how he had come to live on this land and why he stayed. He did not share everything, but he shared enough. The woman listened carefully. She told him how she used to live in a small town where everyone knew each other. She said she missed that feeling of belonging. He looked around the room, at the children sitting close to their mother, at the warm light from the fire, at the simple walls of the house. Maybe, he said slowly, you can find that feeling here. She did not answer right away. She just looked at him, thinking. As the days turned into a week, the idea of leaving became harder for the woman. The children had made friends with the land, with the animals, and with the cowboy. They talked about the ranch as if it were already theirs. The woman saw how safe they felt here. One evening, as the sun set and the sky filled with soft colors, she stood beside the cowboy on the porch. I don't know what the future holds, she said, but I know my children are happy here. That matters. They stood in silence watching the stars appear one by one. The ranch, once quiet and lonely, now felt full of life and hope. Neither of them said it out loud, but both could feel it. Something strong was growing between them. Not just kindness, but trust and the beginning of something that felt like family. The days began to feel steady and warm, like the land itself had accepted them as part of its story. The children woke up each morning with new plans. Some days they wanted to help in the barn. Other days they wanted to explore the fields and follow the small streams that ran through the grass. The cowboy watched them grow more confident with each step. They no longer stayed close to the house out of fear. They ran freely, calling out to each other, their voices carrying across the open space. The woman spent her mornings helping him with small tasks. She learned how to mend fences, how to sort tools, and how to keep the food stored in a way that would last longer. In return, he showed her how to ride the horse slowly and safely. The first time she climbed into the saddle, she was nervous, holding on tightly. He walked beside her, guiding the horse and speaking in calm, simple words. When she finally rode on her own for a short distance, her face lit up with pride. The children clapped and cheered, and for a moment, the ranch felt like a place of celebration. But not every day was easy. One morning, the cowboy woke up to find one of the fences broken and a few animals missing. The ground was marked with fresh tracks leading toward the far hills. He knew he had to act quickly. He saddled his horse and prepared to ride out. The woman noticed the worry on his face. "What happened?" she asked. "Some of the animals got out," he said. "I need to bring them back." The children wanted to go with him, but he told them to stay behind. The woman offered to help by watching the land and keeping things ready in case he needed support. He nodded, grateful. The ride took longer than he expected. The sun climbed high in the sky as he followed the tracks. The land felt wider and quieter the farther he went. For the first time in days, he felt the old loneliness creeping back. He thought about the house, about the children's laughter, and the woman's calm presence. He realized how much he did not want to lose that feeling. When he finally found the animals, he guided them back slowly, careful not to rush them. By the time he returned, the sun was starting to fall. The woman and the children were waiting near the fence. The youngest child ran toward him as soon as he appeared, calling his name. The woman's face showed relief.
"I'm glad you're back," she said. He nodded.
Me too. That night they shared a quiet meal. The children talked about what they had done while he was gone.
They had drawn pictures and played simple games. The woman had told them stories about their past travels. The cowboy listened, feeling like he was learning more about their lives, piece by piece.
A few days later, a visitor came to the ranch.
A man from a nearby town rode up on a horse and asked to speak with the woman. The cowboy watched from a distance, feeling uneasy. The man spoke in a low voice. The woman listened, her face serious. When the man left, the cowboy walked over. "Everything all right?" he asked. The woman hesitated. "He said there's a place in town where we could stay. It would be closer to schools and shops." The words hung in the air. The cowboy felt his chest tighten. "Do you want to go?" he asked. She looked at the land, at the house, at the children playing near the barn.
"I don't know,"
she said. "I want what's best for them." That night the woman lay awake thinking. The ranch felt safe and warm, but the town offered more chances for her children's future. The cowboy also lay awake staring at the ceiling, wondering if he was about to lose the people who had brought life back into his home. The next day, a small storm rolled in. The sky darkened, and the wind picked up. The children grew nervous, staying close to the house. The cowboy worked quickly to secure everything. The woman helped him carry supplies inside. When the rain came, it was heavy and loud. The roof rattled and the wind pushed against the walls. The children sat close together, holding hands. The woman tried to stay calm, but her eyes showed worry. The cowboy sat with them, speaking softly, telling them the storm would pass. He told them about storms he had seen before, and how the land always found a way to grow again afterward. His voice was steady and slowly. The children relaxed. After a while, the rain slowed and the wind softened. They stepped outside and saw the land washed clean. The air smelled fresh. The sky began to clear and a faint rainbow appeared in the distance. The children pointed and laughed. The woman looked at the cowboy. "You always seem to know how to make things feel safe," she said. He shrugged. "We just face it together." Those words stayed with her. As the days went on, small problems tested their bond. One of the children got sick for a short time. The woman worried, and the cowboy rode to town to bring back medicine and fresh food. He stayed up late that night, checking on the child and helping in any way he could. The woman saw this and felt a deep sense of gratitude. Another day, the cowboy hurt his hand while fixing a broken board. The woman cleaned and wrapped it carefully. She told him he needed to rest. He tried to argue, but she stood firm. The children sat beside him, telling him stories to pass the time. For the first time, he let someone else take care of him. These moments, small but meaningful, built something strong between them. They began to trust each other not just with work, but with feelings. One evening, the woman sat with him on the porch. The sky was painted with soft colors as the sun went down. The children were inside, drawing by the table. "I've been thinking about the town," she said quietly. He waited, not wanting to rush her.
"I know it could offer more," she continued. "But here, my children feel free.
They feel safe, and I feel like I'm not alone anymore." He looked at the ground. "You're not alone," he said softly. She smiled. "Neither are you." The next day, the man from town returned. He asked if the woman had made a decision. The children stood nearby, listening. The woman took a deep breath. "We're grateful for the offer," she said. "But we found a place where we belong." The man nodded, understanding, and rode away. The cowboy felt a weight lift from his chest. The children cheered quietly. The woman turned to him, her eyes full of emotion. "Thank you for giving us a chance," she said. He shook his head. "You gave me one too." That night they sat together under the stars. The sky was clear, and the land was calm. The children lay on a blanket, pointing out shapes in the sky. The woman and the cowboy sat side by side, close enough to feel the warmth of each other's presence. The ranch no longer felt like just a place of work. It felt like a shared life, built on kindness, patience, and small acts of care. They did not know what the future would bring, but they knew they would face it together, as something more than strangers, something closer to a family that had chosen each other. The days at the ranch continued with a gentle rhythm, each morning bringing a new sense of belonging. The children woke early, as they had since arriving, eager to run outside and greet the animals. Their laughter echoed across the fields, carrying a lightness that the cowboy had almost forgotten existed. He watched from the porch, leaning on the railing as they ran barefoot through the grass, chasing one another and laughing at the smallest things. Their joy was infectious, and for the first time in years he felt a happiness he did not need to explain or hide. The woman had grown more confident in her new life as well. She helped tend to the land, fed the animals, and even learned to ride the horse with ease. Each day she and the cowboy worked side by side, sharing simple tasks that once had been solitary. Fixing a fence together, gathering firewood, or preparing a meal had become moments of quiet companionship. They rarely spoke of the past or their previous lives. It was enough to simply be together, to share the space and the work, and to watch the children flourish. One afternoon, a letter arrived from the town they had briefly considered moving to. The woman held it in her hands, hesitant to open it. The letter described the opportunities waiting there: a steady home, access to schools, and neighbors who could provide help and friendship. She read it silently, her brow furrowed with thought. The cowboy noticed, his heart tightening slightly. He understood her concerns. He too had once longed for a community beyond the solitude of his land. But when he saw the children's eager faces as they played in the fields, he felt certain that their place was here, together. The woman finally spoke. "It's a good offer," she said softly. "But I don't know if it's right for us." She looked at the cowboy, her eyes searching. "I want what's best for my children, but I also want them to be happy." He nodded, understanding. "Happiness matters," he said, "and it's something they've found here." The conversation lingered in the air, unspoken truths threading between them. Both of them understood that life was not always easy, and that choices carried weight. But there was also a quiet strength in knowing they had each other, and that together they could face the challenges ahead. A few days later, The cowboy took the children to the far fields, teaching them to observe the animals quietly, to notice the small details of the land, the tracks in the soil, the way the wind moved through the grass, the colors of the sky as it changed throughout the day. The children absorbed it eagerly, their curiosity boundless. The cowboy was patient, letting them discover at their own pace, guiding them gently with words of encouragement. They were learning not just about the land, but about patience, care, and respect. Meanwhile, the woman stayed behind to prepare a simple meal. She hummed softly as she worked, watching through the window as the cowboy and children moved among the fields. She felt a deep sense of peace watching them together. The bond they had formed was growing stronger, rooted in trust, kindness, and shared experiences. She realized that the life they were building was more valuable than any comfort the town could offer. That evening, a small accident occurred. The youngest child tripped while chasing the older ones and scraped a knee. The woman rushed to his side, cleaning the wound and comforting him. The cowboy watched quietly, offering gentle words of reassurance. The incident reminded them all that life, even in its quiet moments, carried its own risks. Yet it also reminded them of the importance of looking after one another. The children saw firsthand the care and attention given by the adults, and it strengthened their sense of safety and belonging. The next day, the cowboy discovered another challenge. A section of the fence near the river had been damaged by recent heavy rain, leaving the animals at risk. He immediately began repairs, working under the hot sun. The woman and children joined him, bringing tools, carrying posts, and holding the wire as he fastened it into place. Together they completed the work, their teamwork a testament to the growing unity of their makeshift family. They celebrated their success quietly, sharing smiles and a sense of accomplishment that felt profound in its simplicity. As the days passed, the children began to develop routines and responsibilities. The oldest took on tasks of helping the younger ones, teaching them how to feed the animals or carry water without spilling. The middle child grew curious about the crops and learned to water and care for the small vegetable patch near the house. The youngest, though small and still learning, contributed by helping gather firewood and keeping their little play area tidy. The cowboy and woman guided them with patience, encouraging independence while ensuring safety. These moments, filled with effort and care, were slowly knitting them into a cohesive unit. One evening after a long day of work, the cowboy and woman sat together on the porch, watching the sky turn shades of pink and gold. The children were inside, quietly drawing or reading by candlelight. The cowboy spoke first, his voice low and steady. "Do you think we're doing the right thing staying here?" he asked. The woman considered the question, watching the fading light on the horizon. "I think this is where we belong," she said finally. "Not because it's easy, but because it feels right. The children are happy, we are safe, and we have each other." He nodded, feeling the truth in her words. The loneliness that had once filled his days had begun to fade, replaced by a quiet warmth that came from connection, trust, and care. He realized that the home he had built for himself was no longer just his own. It was shared, filled with laughter, responsibility, and love. The following weeks brought small, everyday joys. The children learned to ride their own horses with gentle guidance. The woman discovered new ways to tend the house and land, often surprising the cowboy with her creativity and thoughtfulness. Evenings were spent around the fire, telling stories, sharing hopes, or simply enjoying the silence that now felt comforting rather than empty. The bonds between them strengthened naturally, without force or ceremony, built on shared experiences and mutual respect. Then, one afternoon, the woman spoke about the future. "I think we should make a decision," she said, looking at the children playing in the field. "We've been here long enough to know what feels right. We need to decide if this is where we will stay or if we will move on." The cowboy took a deep breath. He had been feeling the same way, but had waited for her to voice it. "I don't want to lose what we have here," he said. "This land, these children, you, it all matters too much." The woman smiled faintly, a mixture of relief and understanding. "We've already made it our home," she said softly. "It's not perfect, but it's ours. That evening they shared the news with the children, who reacted with excitement and joy. They ran to the fields, shouting and laughing, their happiness a reflection of the love and security they had found. The cowboy watched them, feeling a sense of pride and deep contentment. The woman joined him, and together they watched the children play, their hands brushing lightly. In that moment, words were unnecessary. They both understood that their lives had changed forever, and in the best possible way. The night came quietly, with stars scattered across the dark sky. The house glowed softly, filled with warmth and gentle voices. The cowboy and woman sat together listening to the rhythmic breathing of the sleeping children. The peace of the evening settled over them, a reassurance that the difficult decisions of the past had led to this moment of safety, trust, and belonging. In the following days, the family settled fully into life at the ranch. Tasks were shared, responsibilities divided, and laughter became the soundtrack of daily life. They faced challenges together, the occasional broken fence, the unpredictable weather, or small illnesses, but each obstacle only strengthened the bond between them. The cowboy had once believed his life would always be quiet and lonely, but now, surrounded by the children and the woman who had come to trust him, he knew that he had found something far more valuable than solitude. He had found a family. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months. Life on the ranch had grown into a steady rhythm, full of laughter, work, and quiet moments of connection. The children had settled fully into their routines, learning the land, helping with chores, and discovering the joys of simple life. The oldest child had grown confident in caring for the animals and guiding the younger siblings. The middle child had learned to tend the garden and help with small repairs, while the youngest, though still small, had learned to carry water, gather firewood, and assist in gentle ways that made them feel part of the family. Each day, their skills and confidence grew, and with it, the bond between all of them became stronger. The cowboy had also changed. He no longer woke to an empty house and a quiet wind. Instead, he was greeted by laughter and shouts from the children, and by the soft, calm presence of the woman who had slowly become the heart of the home. He found himself teaching them new things: how to read the signs in the clouds, how to track animals, how to care for the land with patience and respect. But he was also learning from them. The way children notice small wonders, the way their curiosity could make even ordinary work feel alive. And the woman had become his partner, his companion, and his equal. They shared duties, supported each other, and laughed together at mistakes and small surprises. Life was no longer lonely. One morning the cowboy noticed that the sun rose unusually clear, the sky stretching wide and pale gold. He went outside to tend the animals, and the children followed, eager to begin the day's work. The woman brought out breakfast for everyone, placing plates on the table near the porch. They ate together, talking quietly about the plans for the day. The older children discussed which animals to check and which fields needed attention, while the younger one asked questions about the birds flying overhead. The woman answered with patience, guiding each child while the cowboy listened quietly, proud of how far they had all come. As the day continued, a new challenge appeared. A heavy wind had blown part of the fence down near the edge of the property, leaving the animals exposed. Without hesitation, the cowboy saddled his horse, and the children and woman joined him with tools and supplies. Together they worked to fix the fence. The children learned how to tighten ropes, secure posts, and handle tools safely. The woman carried supplies and offered guidance, showing patience and care with each step. The cowboy worked alongside them, demonstrating techniques, praising their efforts, and offering gentle corrections. By the end of the afternoon, the fence was secure, the animals safe, and the family proud of what they had accomplished together. That evening the sun set slowly, painting the sky in deep reds and purples. The children played near the porch, their laughter blending with the soft sound of the wind moving through the grass. The woman prepared a simple meal while the cowboy sat nearby watching them all. He reflected on how much his life had changed. The ranch that had once been silent and lonely was now alive, full of love, laughter, and purpose. The children had found a place where they felt safe. The woman had found a partner and a home, and he had found a family he had never expected. The nights became a time for stories and quiet reflection. After dinner, the family would gather near the fire. The children took turns telling stories of their day, of animals seen or tasks completed, of small adventures across the land. The cowboy and the woman listened, sometimes adding their own stories from the past, always gentle, always patient. The warmth of the fire and the glow of the lamp filled the house with a sense of security and peace. The children, once wary of strangers, now laughed freely and spoke with confidence. The woman, once cautious and weary, now moved with ease and confidence, guiding her children and sharing the tasks of daily life. The cowboy, once solitary and reserved, had opened his heart to the joy of family, feeling connected in ways he had never imagined. One morning, the woman approached the cowboy while the children were helping in the fields. "I've been thinking," she said softly. "We've been here a long time now."
I think it's clear where our home is.
I think it's clear where our home is. He looked at her, curious. Go on, he said.
She smiled faintly. "It's here, isn't it? With the children, with you, with this land. We belong here. This is our home." The cowboy nodded, a quiet smile on his face. "I think so too." I couldn't imagine it any other way. The children, hearing their parents speak, ran to join them, eager to share the news of the small achievements of the day. They laughed and shouted, carrying water to the animals, gathering firewood, and showing the cowboy and the woman how much they had learned. It was a joyful, chaotic scene, full of energy and life. As the days continued, the family grew closer. They faced small hardships together, storms, broken tools, or minor accidents. But each challenge only strengthened their bond. They shared meals, chores, and evenings by the fire. The cowboy no longer felt the emptiness that had once defined his days. The woman no longer felt the uncertainty of a life spent moving from place to place. The children no longer felt the fear of being without a home. Together, they had built a life that was steady, safe, and full of love. The seasons began to change. Spring brought green grass and new growth. Summer brought long days filled with work and play. Autumn painted the land in gold and red, and winter brought quiet, snowy nights where they all huddled together by the fire. Through each season, their lives continued to intertwine. The cowboy taught the children how to chop wood and track animals. The woman showed them how to prepare simple meals and care for the household. And each night they all gathered together, sharing stories, laughter, and quiet moments of reflection. One evening, the cowboy stood outside, looking at the horizon as the sun set in a blaze of orange and pink. The children were inside, drawing pictures and reading, while the woman prepared a simple meal. He took a deep breath, feeling the wind on his face. The ranch was alive with life. It was not just land or animals. It was a home filled with warmth, safety, and belonging. He thought of how far they had all come, how they had faced challenges and learned to rely on one another, and he realized that the life he had once imagined for himself, quiet, lonely, and simple, was nothing compared to the life he now lived, surrounded by people who cared for him, who needed him, and who had become his family. Later, they all gathered outside under the wide sky filled with stars. The children lay on a blanket, pointing out constellations and telling stories of imagined adventures. The woman and the cowboy sat together quietly watching, feeling the deep satisfaction of knowing that they had built a home, a family, and a life that would last. The air was still and cool, carrying the faint scent of grass and earth. The house glowed softly behind them, a symbol of warmth, safety, and togetherness. In the quiet of the night, the cowboy and the woman shared a simple glance, unspoken words passing between them. They had faced uncertainty, fear, and the unknown, but through it all they had found each other and the children had found a home. The ranch, once a place of loneliness, had become a haven of love, trust, and laughter. It was not a life without challenges, but it was a life worth living, and one that they would face together, every day, forever. The children fell asleep under the stars, dreaming of adventures and discoveries. The woman watched them, smiling softly, and the cowboy felt a peace he had never known. He realized that the greatest joy in life was not solitude or freedom. It was connection, love, and the family they had chosen together. And as the stars shone down on the quiet ranch, they all knew without saying a word that they would stay together forever, bound by trust, care, and the simple, steady warmth of home. The seasons would continue to change, storms would come, and work would never end. But the family had discovered something unshakable. They had found belonging, happiness, and love. The cowboy, the widow, and her 3 children had become more than a family. They had become a life, built together, steady and strong, ready to face every day as one. And in that quiet, enduring way, they knew that they had found what so many search for, but few discover: a home, a family, and the warmth of hearts that would never leave.